Hi there, it's Karen here. I just thought I would show you one of my journals, my very first journal. I made this a few years back, and well and truly before I had ever heard about junk journals. Junk journal's such an awful name, really, because they're things I think that we create because of who we are, and it's just a little extension of our personalities. So I'd just like to share this one with you. I actually painted the cover. The cover's actually made out of just normal card, and it's quite thick, so you know it's quite sturdy for a cover. And I just put a painting on the front of it. I painted this myself. It's a Dante Gabriel Rossetti, so I'm sure that you would know the painting that I'm talking about. Mine's not perfect, obviously. It's a little bit similar, but that's about it. I just want to show you how I joined this together. I've got the front and the back, and what I've done is I've used a bit of a bookbinding material here just to be able to attach it to the back, and I've used hair elastic here and tied it up with some lovely seam binding. The back of it here is, as you can see, it's got some green paint and it's been vintaged with some burnt umber. I usually use Joe Sonia brand, made by Chroma Australia. They're a wonderful paint and they're archival, so they'll never change or lose their tonality. And as you can see, I've popped some corners just to actually reinforce the corners a little bit, and pop some metal corners on there. So yeah, this is actually my personal journal. I put this together quite some time ago, as I said, and I just thought you might want to just have a quick look and see something a little bit different from what's out there at the moment. I've seen a lot of beautiful crafted journals that people have put together, and mine's just a little bit different because it's my own personal journal. Again, just the inside cover there with the same painting. I put a little bit of crack liqueur there just to antique it somewhat, and not everybody's cup of tea this colour, but I think it makes a really good old world look. Most of the pages in this journal are printed with a heading or a picture, as you can see here. And this is actually just cut out and embossed, cut it out using a cutting mat, and just a little handmade flower here that's been stained around the edges. Also, this little butterfly has just been cut out using a cutting machine. As I said, this is my personal journal, so you're going to see a little bit of writing in it, but probably can't read it, which is the good thing. Just a few little thoughts here and there. I usually add a little key or something like that with an attached piece of this beautiful seam binding. I dyed this using a runny consistency of acrylic paint. That's a really good thing. It really takes up the colour beautifully. So if you get yourself some white seam binding, you can dye it any colour you like, just using coloured paints. It works pretty nicely. Just dry it out in the sun or crunch it up, and it gives you a little bit of a mottled effect. This paper here I absolutely adore. I bought this a few years back now from somebody in Paris, and she obviously made it herself, and the texture of this paper is just stunning. I love it. I don't know if you can see that there, but I'll just lift it up a little bit. This is actually just written on with using a paintbrush and paint, and as you can see, even on the textured textured paper, it came out quite okay, not too scratchy. It's my hubby and I. Little notes that I make from some cut out tags. I like to come up with little thoughts and poems, and when I do that I try to write them down so I don't forget them. And what I've done is I've just vintaged it a little bit with some coffee stain and just some watercolour type paint using acrylic paint just to splash the edges. Try to tie in the colours as much as I can in my journal, and got a little heart there that was glued on somewhere. Just some little rosebuds that I pulled apart. And my daughter-in-law, beautiful girl, sent me a lovely bunch of flowers for Mother's Day 1 year, so I didn't want to forget about those. And it's my beautiful hubby, and just some glitter around his face. And these are my children, my 4 children when they were little. I couldn't resist putting the photograph in there. That's what journaling's all about. It's about you and an extension of who you are. So this is part of who I am. And I've embossed the card behind here and just touched over a little bit with some ink, stamping ink, just to highlight the embossing on it. Some more photos of my hubby and I, little spots of glitter. I just popped some glue down and put some glitter on. I don't know if you can see that or not. Just to doody-da the page up a little bit. Again, we've got a pocket over here with a little cutout. Just a few tags in here that I've made. I don't like to throw anything away, so I try to use up all the extra little bits of paper and either coffee stain them or tea stain them. Quite often I use Parisian Essence. I find it gives a really beautiful effect on the paper that you might want to colour up. I usually use it and then I pop the pages out in the sun to dry, and they just come out with all these stunning type of backgrounds on them. And these are just another couple of little random coffee stain tags. This is just a piece of paper that was left over, piece of card rather, and I've just popped a little bit of watercolour on that and a couple of stamps here and written a couple of thoughts on the back. This is a card from one of my children. I just like to keep these as keepsake. Little pocket there, as I said, just coloured up again with some watercolour paint. This is one of the most beautiful songs I love, and I just thought I'll put some calligraphy down on a card and stick it in my journal so I don't forget it. Just hand painted a couple of little violets there. This here is a design that I love. It's a vintage design that's easily found on the internet, and it's copyright free, so I've used it throughout the book, as with all the other printing that I've done in the book, but most of the pages have this on it. I just love it. Again, just a few of my scribblings and a nice stamp. It's a Kaiser stamp. Just little tags in here from the flowers that I received, or the gourmet gifts that I've been given by my daughter and my daughter-in-laws. And these little flower petals, I've just stuck them on here, and this little dried rose, just as a reminder of my daughter-in-law's lovely gift of flowers for Mother's Day or my birthday, I can't remember which. And it's just a little paper bag that you can pick up at Kmart or any craft store really. So I've used that as just a little pocket on the page. Again, another, just a favourite piece of a lovely chorus that we often sing in church. And as a Christian, I like to put some of my thoughts down after a Sunday worship service, and this is part of that. These angel wings are embossed on here, and just stamped on with a stamp with a little bit of gold embossing. There's a bit of glitter on glue just swished across the page. I like to try and think of interesting things to put here. This is part of my favourite. I just love this. What I've done is I've stamped these beautiful little dragonflies onto the black card, and I've had my craft knife and just cut out the wings so that they stand up somewhat, just to give it a little bit of a difference on the page. And I like to do a little bit of random drawing here and there, and that's what I've done here. And this is just a little poem that I wrote one night during a thunderstorm. I thought, oh, I could probably put some words down about that. And so I've just popped a few little thoughts that came to my head I didn't want to forget them because I love thunderstorms. They're my favourite type of weather, and the rain to me smells like God, so I really love the smell of rain. I think it's as good as Chanel No. 5, which is my favourite perfume. And just again a little heart-shaped, made up of rose petals. They've gone a little bit brown now because they've been in here a few years. S&K, that's Steve and Karen, me and hubby. I like to just make little notices. 31 years married on that day, but we're now more than that. We're 35 this year, so that's lovely. My precious friend and beautiful hubby. These are just some cards, a card that I was given by my daughter, and just pop them in there as keepsakes. This pocket I made just out of card and stained the edges around with some stamping ink. Just another Kaiser stamp there. And a couple of little hand-painted violets. What I did here, I put a frame around because I had this here. I wanted to reinforce the page a little bit, so I put the black frame around the edge, just cut it out and stuck it on, so it just gave that little bit of a more substantial page to suit the card pocket there. Again, another pocket. These cards from Mother's Day, and this little one from my grandson. He sent it to me, bless him, and put things in it, so he calls me Mama. And so I like to keep random little drawings and things like that he's done for me. Just some of those in there. There's trillions more. And these are just some scripture verses that I like to try and memorise. And so I just pop them in there to keep them handy. Another little group of scriptures as well, just for the day, just trying to memorise certain things. This one was just Proverbs and Philippians and Matthew, for those of you who know what I'm talking about. Sorry for those of you who don't. Again, some of that gorgeous paper. Just love it. A couple of stamps here. Again, this is painted on with a brush, just so that I can make sure it went into the grooves of the roughness of the paper. A little embellishment here, just with a paper clip and a bit of ribbon on it. Again here, just to hang on to some of these things so that they don't go falling out. Love this. Found it on the internet. Couldn't tell you where it came from really, but rather than paint one myself, I thought I'll just pop that on a little card and write some things on the back at some point in time. Some dried flowers, often dry flowers in my Bible, and just stick them in my journal. It's my little grandson Reuben, gorgeous kid. He's 8 now. I put him in there because he's sent me, or given me, the little notes that I've put in here. Yeah, just some more embossing there. I love this. This is from the, just can't remember where I got that from, but it was on the internet, and it is actually free of any copyright, so I was able to download it. I think it was from the Vintage Fairy or something like that. So yeah, I just printed that on and just put some thoughts down in there. As I said, this is my personal journey, and I don't write in it all the time, but I like to write in it when I have thoughts that come to my mind that are worthwhile writing down. Just another little piece of extra card that I didn't want to throw away, so splashed a bit of paint and stamp on. This little rosette here, I drew that on there with some Stampin' Up pens. Just a bit of an experiment really. I hadn't used them before, but I thought I'll give them a go, and just wanted to tizzy up the page a little bit with some of my thoughts. I'm not going to show you under there. But yeah, again, most of the journal, the rest of the journal isn't necessarily written in, but I just thought I wanted to show you the kind of thing that I like to fill my time with. As I said, it was my very first, so good journal to show, I think, because you've still got some pages. I haven't put many pockets throughout, but I've tried to put little bits and pieces until I get back to finishing this one off. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed looking at a little piece of my journal today. This paper is the pattern on it. I used Parisian Essence, as I mentioned earlier, and the pattern actually came about by putting the wet paper on a lovely old wrought iron table that I have out the back, and when it dried with this fantastic pattern on it, and I just felt really blessed. Actually, it was a little bit of a random surprise. So I do that every now and then to get the pattern on the back of it, as you can see. So there's a little bit more here. So rather than just let them dry in the sun on the bricks, put them on the table, and it comes up with something gorgeous. So yeah, just another little printed bit of work there. That's probably enough for this journal, but yeah, I just wanted to share it with you. And I don't see many Australians putting much on YouTube in the way of journaling or vintage journals, so just thought I'd share this with you today, and I hope you've enjoyed just having a quick look through. If you've got any comments you'd like to make, I'd really be happy to hear from you, and I'm looking forward to putting up some more of my work in the very near future. Thank you for watching.